Welcome students, Standard 6, English Textbook, Chapter 1.2, Who's the Greatest? It is a story about Emperor Akbar. Akbar is known as one of the greatest rulers in the world. Moreover, he was also a good human being. He had great respect for scholars, writers, poets and artists of various religions. BIRBAL was his favorite among the 9 James or Navratans in his court. Akbar liked to ask questions to his courtiers and BIRBAL was usually the one to come up with witty answers. There are many stories based on Akbar and BIRBAL. Today, in this chapter, we will know 2 of them. So, this is our first story. One day, the emperor entered the court and he was very angry as something has happened. He put up a question in front of his courtiers. What should be the punishment for someone who pulls my moustache? To this, the court was shocked. Pull the emperor's moustache. One of them shouted, give him 50 lashes of the whip. Whereas the another one said, put him in the jail without food and water. Few even suggested, cut off his hand, hang him. Only BIRBAL was silent and he was smiling a little. What do you say, BIRBAL? What is your opinion? Asked Akbar. BIRBAL immediately replied, O giver of peace to the world, O my emperor, the offender should be given his favorite sweets. Everyone in the court was stunned to BIRBAL's reply. But BIRBAL cleverly explained and said, who would be so bold as to pull the emperor's moustache? Only his own grandson. When Akbar heard this, he burst out laughing because that is exactly what had happened in the morning. So children, hope you all have enjoyed this first story. And I know you all must be waiting for the second one. So let's get started. The second story. One day, Akbar was relaxing with some of his courtiers. A few of them thought, this is a good opportunity to shower praise on the emperor and get some favors from him. One of them said, you are the greatest of the kings. Another one said, you are the greatest of the kings or emperors that ever lived on the earth. Third one said, you are the greatest of all the people in heaven or earth. Fourth one said, you are as great as God Almighty. And finally, the last one said, you are greater than the God Almighty. Now, Akbar was not a fool. He stopped the courtiers and asked, do you all believe so that I am greater than the God Almighty? They all answered in one voice, yes. All right, said the emperor. Then prove it to me. Tell me at least one thing that I can do, but God Almighty will not be able to do. You all have till tomorrow morning to prove it, else you all will be punished. Now they all were in a difficult situation. They thought and thought, but could not think of any such thing. In the end, they all went to BIRBAL. BIRBAL, after listening to their story, told them not to worry. The next morning, the court was full. Everyone was curious to see what would happen next. Soon Emperor Akbar entered the court. He asked the courtiers, "I hope you have found a good answer to my questions, or are you ready to leave the court forever?" Just then BIRBAL stepped forward and said, "Oh Lord, please don't be angry with them. There is certainly one thing that you can do, but the God Almighty cannot." Akbar looked at BIRBAL thoughtfully and said, "Now explain, what is that one thing?" BIRBAL cleverly answered, "Oh my lord, when you want to punish someone, you can banish that person from your kingdom easily. But God Almighty cannot, as His kingdom extends everywhere." Akbar's face was lit up with a smile and said, "While showing how I have an advantage, you have also shown that the God is greater." Akbar was so pleased with the answer that he forgave the courtiers for their stupidity. And here's the end of our second story, as well as the end of chapter 1.2. Thank you, students.